you are. We made it.
Here I am.
Hey, listen, man. I'm not even trying to size you, but I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out to join the show tonight. I really, really appreciate it because I know that you have a lot going on. So it means a lot to me that you were able to take some time out to join the show. Thank you so much.
Man, it's all good, bro.
Listen, we're going to go right into it, man. And for those of you who don't know, this man has a very important job in the industry, in media, in the culture, what we do. And I've had the privilege of working with him, even in the process of him transitioning to this new space that he's in right now. And he is, for those who don't know, he is the head of hip hop at Pandora. And he's doing amazing things in that realm and in that space. And we're really going to talk about things that I didn't even know that he had it in him, you know, like being in front of the camera. But we're going to get to that in a minute. You know what I'm saying? But I want you to speak on the process of transitioning because you started out as a DJ. And
Right.
if you could take us back to the early years for you, the beginning, and just your journey so far. The reason why I say that is because I want you to also touch on why are you now in this space? Was that something that you always saw?
Yeah, so it really just got to the point that I really wanted to get on the radio somehow, and I was blessed enough to get on Hot 107.9 here in Atlanta. But coming into the situation, I knew I didn't want to DJ forever, and I wanted to like really grow and be some sort of executive in radio. So
Yeah.
once I got my foot in the door, I just did my best and was very intentional as far as learning as much as I could about the business and the different aspects about the industry. So I just wouldn't be a DJ and not knowing like how long my shelf life would be because at the end of the day DJs come and go and they get replaced, but you keep on moving up the ladder. There's always a need for like those executives and those leaders.
Yeah, and I think that's key too because it sounds to me like this was a plan that you had all along. Because I watched an interview where you kind of like you use this analogy of like sports, whereas you're
Yeah.
an athlete.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, because basically when I came in, there was the establishment DJs in Atlanta who were kind of like running the scene and everything, but they were all much older than me at the time. Then you had a group of us like myself. It was DJ Infamous at the time, DJ Holiday, this dude named DJ Cash, and DJ Ace. We were like the next wave of young DJs, and I just remember like how we came in and we just replaced all those guys. We took them all out, and we were the hot DJs, so it was cool. But I looked back and was just like, damn, if those were the hot dudes and we took them out, who's coming for my
Who's
spot?
coming for us, right?
Who's gonna try to take me out? Because I know they coming.
Right.
So instead of like holding on too long, because sometimes you'll see in sports where you'll see your favorite athlete, they'll they'll stay on too long or they'll try to hang on too long, and then when they get to the end of their career, they're not the player that you fell in love with,
Yeah.
that you idolize, man. I mean, I just remember Allen Iverson at the end of his career. It used to break my heart because he was like my favorite basketball player growing up,
Right.
just
Right.
what he did to the league, man. So, and that's with any sport. Father Time catches up with any of us. So I just felt like with DJing, I had my window, I had my opportunity, and it wasn't for me to just stay in there and try to hold on as long as possible. It was get in, you know, get what I needed out of it and use it as another stepping stone in my career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see you doing a lot now in the digital space. And reason I bring that up is because back when we were working together at Urban One, I always tell people that you were one of the ones that really we got a problem, like even becoming what it is, was because you believed in that and you saw something in that and gave me an opportunity to create freedom to go out and create something like that. And we're going to
Right.
get to that on leadership as well, because I felt like you had, it wasn't just with regards to like media, but there were things I saw in you as far as leadership goes. Like you weren't just a leader who says, go do it. You're a leader who says, I'm in the trenches with you. And we're going to get to that much before we wrap up the episode tonight. But a lot of people see your job and what you do. But if you could just take it just like a summary, you know what I'm saying, of like really what your position as head of hip hop is and what you do.
Sure. So I'm in charge of overseeing and curating anything hip hop on Pandora, whether it's a station, a playlist. You know, I interact with the artists and labels and different managers and give them advice on the platform and then streaming. And I also try to give them radio advice too because of my previous role. I'm also very involved as far as helping to lead Pandora Now, which is our SiriusXM channel that's a direct, it's supposed to be like a direct correlation or a direct bridge or representation of Pandora on SiriusXM. So those are the main things that I do on a daily basis. Kind of similar to what I was doing as a program director, except I'm not managing like personalities or staff like.
Yeah. That's amazing. He just said, see how he just said that's so cool, but it's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot, but I'm very thankful, man. I'm very thankful. There's a lot of other stuff I could be doing that I don't really want to do.
No, you're right. Being thankful is important. You know, I was a radio, TV, and film major at Howard, and when we were coming up, streaming wasn't a thing. Like that wasn't even in existence. And I remember when we got out of school and we got into business and everything, and then streaming came. First, it was with SiriusXM and everything, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, that's not gonna last too long. It's not gonna be around for too long." I remember we was having that conversation versus, streaming and actual traditional radio. And it's been 10 whatever years now, and we're instead of it going away, what we're seeing is more of these platforms coming up. And I had somebody who's been in radio for 3 decades, and we were talking about the role of streaming and wherever radio was dying and what the state of radio is. And I want you to just speak on the role of streaming in today's industry. Like, how important is that?
Right. Well, I mean, streaming is important on so many different levels, just as far as giving artists another platform to get their music out there, and also from a financial standpoint, because streaming has been around for a very long time. It's been over 20 years, and it kind of started with like the whole Napster movement and everything like that. But the technology was so new and was so fresh. Anytime you have a situation like that, the litigation and the monetization is always going to be playing catch up. So even though streaming has been around for so long, we didn't know how to monetize it. We didn't know how to like count sales and compensate artists and compensate the labels and everybody involved. So that's where you saw like in the early 2000s and even like around the 2010s, you saw a lot of labels starting to go under. You saw, especially in the urban states, you saw a lot of consolidation. You saw a lot of people getting let go. Artists weren't getting those big contracts like they once were, and there was a lot of fear and anxiety around the music industry, especially like within the black music industry, that black, the urban departments were just gonna fall off. Because at the same time, pop was really exploding too. Everybody was going pop, and you saw a lot of hip hop artists trying to do pop type records and get on with pop artists. But once the monetization and the legalization of streaming really got set, that's when you saw the explosion of hip hop music as far as being pop culture and really pumping a lot of money back into the labels. And you're starting to see more of these sub labels pop up, whether it's a QC or a South Coast Music Group
Yeah.
or TDE, whoever, you
Yeah.
know.
TD up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and even old labels coming back, you
Yeah.
know. You're seeing a lot of that, and a lot of that primarily has to do with streaming because they figured out a way to monetize it. So now it's basically pumping the money back into the labels and stuff like that. So it's important on so many different levels. But for me, seeing these trends and seeing like the impact that it was having on the industry from a cultural standpoint, from a technology standpoint, and just from a financial standpoint is it's something in the back of my mind. Even when I was like at radio, I was just like, I eventually got to get over to streaming because
Yeah.
this is it's not the future, it's now.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, I never say radio is dying or is dead. I just didn't know the direction that it was going in. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And me being a relatively young program director, I felt like I still had a lot of years in the game, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what radio was going to look like 10, 15, 20 years down the line.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that streaming was continuing to grow and expand.
Yeah.
So I just felt like from a long-term aspect and just from a knowledge aspect, it was best for me to make that transition.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was, you know, as God would have it, I was recruited by Pandora, and like right when I got in, Pandora was acquired by SiriusXM. So
Mm.
I kind of had the best of both worlds, being that I'm on like one of the oldest streaming platforms, but at the same time, we got acquired by like a radio company. I can't call it a traditional radio company because they're
Yeah.
not, but they still operate like a radio station would as far as a programming content standpoint.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it was just a blessed situation.
Yeah, absolutely. What talk about the I think you guys are what sets you guys apart from everybody else that's out there. You know, because you have a lot of streaming platforms. You have Spotify, these other guys, but um, for me, and you can add to this too. One of the things
Sure.
I'm seeing you guys doing now is I was watching. I wasn't even privy to this. This was back in 016, 017 maybe. It was in ATL. It was like a huge show that you guys put together. I mean, everybody who's somebody in the music scene was out there, and I was like, yo, these guys are doing events. They're having literally functioning like a traditional, you know what I'm saying, media radio company in that sense. And I want you to really speak on that. And what are the things that you see that makes you guys stand out from everybody else?
Well, I think all the streaming platforms, they each have their own lane. They each have their own niche. They each have their core audience or their P1s that go to them for different reasons and stuff. Again, you know what makes Pandora so unique is that we were one of the first major streaming platforms in existence. So you know we kind of broke the mold.
Yeah,
And with that, Pandora is probably the best streaming platform for those listeners who still like traditional radio, you know, like the listening experience, but don't necessarily like, you know, everything else that goes with radio, but aren't all the way savvy to go enough to like full streaming or making their own playlist. So
got it.
Pandora kind of serves as that bridge as far as like, okay, I like this type of music. You know, I like music that 50 Cent makes, right? You know, so I can go to 50 Cent radio, put it on, and I get the type of music I like. And because of the way it's designed through our thumbs, if you thumb up a song or thumb down a song, the station is kind of molded based off of your listening preference. You
Mm,
get what I'm saying?
yeah,
So uh, that is something that Pandora was one of the first to do and has really perfected that. So
yeah,
it gives you that laid back listening experience, but without all the commercials or the talk that some people don't necessarily like. Some people do like it, some people don't. But
yeah, yeah,
it definitely gives you that. And then we also have like on demand listening and play listening. as well like the rest of the streaming platforms. But I think the other thing that makes us unique is our partnership with SiriusXM. You know,
Yeah,
you have a radio station or a radio company and a streaming platform together sharing information
yeah,
and able to really boost up an artist or highlight an artist not only in streams but radio spins as well. So you're getting the best of both worlds.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. You know, you've been in the game for a minute now, and you even from DJing up until this point and being an executive, you've seen a lot of things happen. You've seen a lot of artists come and go. I want you to speak because it's a lot of young artists. Even as we're live right now, I'm seeing a lot of people. Shouts out to everyone who's checking in. You know, I see a lot of y'all checking in. People talking about check so and so. Check out this person music and that person music, but it's a lot of young artists right now watching, and I want you to speak just words of wisdom, you know what I'm saying, for that young artist who was coming up, or that young DJ who was coming up, having been in the game that long and having transitioned the way that you have. What are some of the words of wisdom you can share with somebody right now that's, you know, just young, fresh, just coming up in the game, that sort of thing?
Well, everybody says believe in yourself, and you should definitely do that. But on top of that, you need to invest in yourself.
Mm,
I see a lot of artists and DJs. They're looking for that next big break, or they're looking for that next viral moment. And
yeah,
those moments, they come, they happen, but they don't happen often, and they don't happen for everybody. That's the reality of the situation. So you
yeah,
want to do as much as you can to kind of control your own destiny and put yourself in a position of power that you can control. You remember I always used to say control the controllable.
yeah,
So that's probably the best advice that I can give an artist or a DJ is, invest in yourself. Find out what tools or resources are available to you to put
yeah,
yourself in a better position. I tell artists this all the time. Instead of waiting for somebody like me or the other DSPs to hopefully playlist you, what can you do to promote your music without being playlisted?
mm,
For example, spending some money on digital advertising, building up your social media platforms, sending
yeah,
people directly to your music
yeah,
that will affect your streams and,
yeah,
and get your notoriety up. Um, Finding third party playlisters. There's plenty of DJs out there now that people aren't really doing mixtapes like that no more
yeah,
who have their own individual playlists, whether
yeah,
they're DJs, bloggers, influencers, they all have playlists now. You know, what's to stop you from getting on one of their playlists and building up your streams that way?
yeah,
Again, investing in ads on whether it be on like Facebook or social media or YouTube. You know, these are
yeah,
all things that are accessible. You don't have to have $1 million budget or a six-figure budget or even a five or four-figure budget. You could
yeah,
start out with a small budget of a couple of $100
yeah,
and start gaining traction like that. But but again, it's like I think people are a lot of people look for that viral moment, or if I could just get on this playlist, or if radio would just pick up my song.
yeah.
It doesn't necessarily work like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, you're right about that, and even along the lines of that, um, I want to pivot a little bit to like leadership and what you do, and that I think that is something that, when we started off, I told you that I look at you not just in the media realm, but just all around, a leader in everything that you do and the way that you move. And I want you to just speak to your method and your mode of operating and moving that's really brought you this far in the game, because I think it's something that's very unique. You can add to this too, but number one thing that I saw that kind of made you stand out from, because I mean, at the time I've been in the station, maybe under a year, a little bit before you came along, or two maybe.
Right.
But one thing that you did that I thought was really interesting, or made you stand out, was the fact that you were not just someone who says go do it. You're
Right.
someone who said let's go do it. You know what I mean? And that's very unique. And the second thing is you made sure that everyone was a part of the process, and I thought that was really interesting. I want you to add to that too, and your leadership techniques and how you move, and it's things that you continue to do even now in this position that you're in.
No, I definitely appreciate that, man. I mean, my thing has always been inclusion, like you talked about,
Yeah.
and really just listening to people
Yeah.
at the end of the day, and empowering people.
Yeah.
Just because you're in a position of power doesn't mean you have all the answers, or
Yeah.
you're in that position because you're the smartest person in the room and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And I think sometimes bosses or leaders kind of get caught up in that stuff. It's
Mm.
like, I gotta be the boss, or I have to show my authority. But if you're really confident in yourself, and you respect yourself, and the people that are working with you respect you, you don't have to poke your chest out. You don't have to yell at people or
Mm.
give people mandates and stuff like that. I think I've always been one to operate like, okay, well, you coming to me with an idea, fill out your idea. What do you think? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Why do you think this will work? And I'll give you the pros and cons of it. I'll help you construct it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Most of the things that we did up in DC, they
Yeah.
came from the staff.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to take credit for everything and be like, oh yeah, I did all that.
Right.
But a, a lot of the best and biggest ideas came from me asking the staff, like, what do y'all think? What
Yeah.
do you think of this idea and stuff? I mean, the whole Black Panther renting out a movie theater, that was something
Yeah.
Angie Ann came up with.
Yeah.
you know, and me as a leader, she was very passionate about it. I thought it was an excellent idea, so it
Yeah.
was on me to try to make it happen and execute it.
Yeah.
Kiss Fest, that was a conversation that I had with Gemini and Angie downstairs at Copper Canyon.
Yeah.
We was talking about a show, and they was like, "Yo, it'd be dope to do an R&B joint. This is DC. DC
Yeah.
loves R&B.
Yeah.
It's never been done before."
Yeah.
And shout out to Dominique, who was my programming assistant, who I just had the privilege of making my first hire over here at Pandora. So she'll be joining me up in about
Okay.
a couple of weeks. So I'm excited about that. She always used to tell me all the time, like J1, this ain't Atlanta. You can't play all your trap music. You gotta
Right.
you gotta play some
That sounds like
R&B. We
something
like
Damo would say.
yeah. She's like, we're not, you can't play all your ghetto favorites, because like,
Right.
yeah, I lived in Atlanta half my life. So if it was up to me, I was gonna play trap all day long and then
Drama.
play it. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
But
that's crazy.
but again, I listened to my staff, and those were some of the biggest events that we did,
Yeah.
and I think you know most most effective leaders, they know how to lead, they know how to take charge of a situation, but they also know how to listen as well, and listen to the people who are with you, that have to go into battle with you. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, yeah, you got to make the final decision, but
Yeah.
it can't all be on you, because again, like for me, I'm only one person. I don't
Yeah.
know everything.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna see everything.
Yeah.
So I need people that's gonna like check me on my blind spots,
Yeah.
and let
Yeah.
me know like no, this might not be a good idea,
Yeah.
or you might want to think about this. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And that's why, like, I love people like Angie Ange and
Yeah.
Dominique and Bacon Bear and all that stuff,
Yeah.
because and Gemini, because they were my eyes and ears, and really just they would let me know, like,
Yeah.
if we needed to do something.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's important. Two things before I let you go. Who are
Sure.
you listening? Who are you listening to right now? Who are you listening to right now? What's your playlist looking like?
What's my playlist looking like, man? I
Yeah.
mean, you know, it's funny because that's what I do all day long, is just
Yeah.
make playlists and curate stations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's never just like one particular artist and stuff.
Yeah.
I try to check for everybody.
Okay.
I mean, not like everybody, but if I'm hearing about like one of Gucci Man's artists, like Fujiano or Fu Shiesty, who's popping
Uh-huh.
right now, like I wanna listen. I'm on them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little baby got his label. He got his artist, so
Yeah.
I'm listening to them.
Listen. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I love the YG album that just dropped.
Yeah.
I love the
Mm.
21 Savage album that just dropped. So
Yeah.
I'm just a fan of music, you
Yeah.
know, and that's why like that was part of the reason I started doing a little New Music Friday segment is
That's a great
because
segue. I was gonna say. I
uh,
love that.
yeah, man, because you know there's so much new music that comes out every week,
Yeah.
and the average listener,
Yeah.
it's hard to keep up with it. Even when I was a program director, I
Yeah.
couldn't keep up with all the music that's coming out. But now that I'm in a position that I'm knowing and I'm finding out about this stuff, I wanted to create like a platform or just something, a small segment that people can know about
Yeah.
some of these songs and stuff like that. And it's so funny because people, you know, artists and labels will hit me up and be like, "Yo, how can I get on new music, your new music segment and all that?" And like,
Yeah.
what do I need to do? I'm like, it's not even about that. These are just joints that I personally feel it that I feel
Exactly.
like people
Right.
need to know about that caught my ears.
Yeah.
You know, so I really took the politics out of that aspect and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But it's just funny how that's grown that even certain program directors
Yeah.
they've told me that they like look at it and listen to it and like that's helped them with their programming as well because
Mm.
it's hard to keep up with all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so you know, just kind of to answer the question, there's not really one particular thing that I'm listening to. I listen to all the stuff
All
that's
of it.
coming out that's
Yeah.
hot that catches my ear. And
Yeah.
then you know when I'm not listening to music, whether it's old school new stuff, R&B or whatever, I'm listening to my fantasy football channel because we're in
Yeah.
fantasy football season. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
listen to talk
That's
radio.
what's up. Now, listen, man. Thank you so much. And he talked about New Music Friday. That's something that you do every Friday. So yeah, I need to check that out. And you have a YouTube page. You guys need to check it out. Subscribe to his
Yeah,
YouTube page. Yeah, because it's a lot of you. You have a. I was saying because I said J1. I mean J1 is front. He's in front of the camera every time these days.
I am now. I actually had to take a break from that this month because you know, a lot they're adding more responsibility on my plate, and on top of
Yeah,
that, I was kind of getting a little burnt out from it, and
yeah,
then at the same time, I'm doing different radio shows on Sirius XM, so I
yeah,
need to focus on that, man. But I'm gonna get back on it.
yeah,
If not, you know, if not by the end of this year, definitely the top of next year, man. But
yeah,
it was definitely a great experience.
yeah,
It helped me out a lot as far as like my interviewing skills and
yeah,
just getting to know different artists and stuff because it wasn't always like about big artists or who's popping. A
yeah.
lot of times it was just like up and coming artists or I interviewed a lot of writers and producers and to
Mm,
me that was really gratifying is interviewing folks that's like written for like Chris Brown and
mm.
you know who have written for Kalani and all that kind of stuff
Wow.
finding out about them and what their
Yeah,
thought process was, you
yeah,
know. So
yeah, yeah,
it allowed me to like connect and network and learn about a whole bunch of people who I probably wouldn't have known anything about.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's amazing. You guys need to check him out. If you're not already checking him out, check it out. He has a YouTube page. I'm subscribed to that as well. So you guys need to definitely check it out. It's amazing. He does a lot of great content. He said he's bringing it back again because I used to love New Music Fridays. You know what I'm saying? I used to look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
it.
New Music Friday is still going. Like
Okay. Okay, good.
I haven't stopped that. There's still
All right.
every Friday. I just fell back from like the IG live interviews and
Okay.
stuff like that. I'm cool with doing this because you're interviewing me, so I don't have to do no prep work for it. I
All
can just
right.
sit here and answer questions and talk about me.
Right.
But like you know, you doing these lives and these interviews. There's a lot of work that goes into it. You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
go up there and
Mm-hmm.
not know nothing about the person. Just start
Yeah.
spitting off questions. You're not gonna
Yeah.
get good content with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I found myself getting real generic. That's when I was like, okay, it's time for me to stop because I'm not prepping the way I need to be
Right.
prepping,
Right.
and it's unfair to the artist.
No, it's no, you're right, and you know what I mean. You know it better than anybody else. You know, um, But I want to thank you, man. Let me tell you something. This has probably been one of the most. I'm thinking this is probably one of the most viewed lives. This is our episode 3 for us because we do this
Okay.
like every Tuesday. So we're kind of still like new into it because I want to have this consistency. But this is the most viewed that I've seen, and it's been a lot of comments of people saying, "Thank you guys so much. I'm just really knowing a lot from this. Just thank you guys for doing this." And I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I really appreciate your time and everything because I tell people, man, you know, it's not every day that you get some. And again, I'm not slicing up, I'm not saying because it's you, but it's not every day that you get people of your position, you know, to be in the same space like this where we could talk and we can. There's so many people who need that, and just in the comment section, I know I can't shout at everyone that's checking in, but thank y'all so much. I'm glad that you guys got something out of it. Make sure you follow him and everything that he has going on. He's somebody who doesn't just talk the talk, but walks the walk, and not just in the business, but just in life. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has a lot that you can really learn from, that you can glean from, and help you in your process. So once again, thank you so much, A1, for tuning in. I really appreciate your time and everything. Thank you.
Nah, anytime, bro. Keep on creating, keep on doing your thing, bro. I appreciate you, man. One of the hardest working people I know.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, my brother. Be safe.